Normally it's companies and we have someone else to take it, but because of this short period, we just have to have someone take the minutes. So we have to be a board director.
Did you say Hester?
Yes.
Wait.
She's in the Zoom.
Oh, okay, in the Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, because Hester and Emily is a private reason, and obviously you can barely hear me, so I was actually chairing the rest of the meeting. Oh, yes.
Wonderful. All right. Acknowledgement of traditional owners and apologies. We would like to acknowledge the land that we meet on today as the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural heritage beliefs are still important to the living Kaurna people today. Declaration of conflict of interest that all directors and officers in attendance declare that they have read and considered all papers within this agenda that require decision making and have no known conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest with regard to those matters.
Just to update the board as well, an item has been submitted. So item 8 has been submitted to me before the deadline, but because Oliver required some clarification around whether it is a private or non-private matter and whether we can discuss it publicly. So now it's going to make clear. So
so that matter's been approved for me to discuss, and therefore I have a conflict of interest, obviously, with that matter.
Cool. Any other conflicts? There being none, minutes of previous meeting. Recommendation that the board accepts the minutes of the meeting of the 8th of June as a true and accurate record. Can I have a move for that? Luke, seconder. Oscar, any opposed? There being none. What was
Can I amend the minutes?
Yes, what would you like to amend?
It says just Ocean Day, but it should say World Ocean Day in other business. I didn't just go to the beach and say I like the ocean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other problems? All right, then the recommendation will read that the board accepts the amended minutes of the meeting of the 8th of June 2022 as a true and accurate record. Mover, Oscar, Luke, any opposed? There being none, that is carried.
Excuse me, can I just ask who's on Zoom?
Emily, Oscar, Esther.
Oh, can you let in Grace from On Zoom? That's
yeah, I was going to do that.
She can also join our live stream.
Fancy.
Oh, God. What?
Got one person on at the moment. I don't know if that's us or if it's another independent person.
Yes.
Whoever thinks that. What else did you do on Wednesday night?
Must watch TV.
Golden Box.
Featuring my brother.
Okay, so AU President report, Oscar.
Since I'm also won't be speaking too much about this, you'll be very delighted to hear. Wow. As you can see, it's been quite a busy couple of weeks since our board meeting. Obviously, main issues I've been working on are exams. 2 separate petitions have been raised and been delivered to the university. Students raising various issues on the exam. And there's a review of security services. You can hopefully have a read on what the review is about. And I have given my opinion very heavily focused on anti-sexual harassment, sexual assault efforts, because as we can see from the National Student Safety Surveys, we still have a lot to do in the university space to provide a safe space, especially for all our students, and sort of to see how we can do better in terms of getting that awareness out there as well. Just wanted to specifically mention as well that obviously there's been some disputes around replacement exam applications because they were declined, noting that they were close contacts, but they wouldn't be able to provide text messages from SA Health. So that's a space I've been working on as well to make sure that obviously students that are close contact, even though without notification, can get their replacement exam. So those are a couple of points I want to note.
Any questions, comments for Oscar? There being none,
think that's a new record though, I think.
Yeah, that was very quick. Because he can't talk.
Yeah, are you okay, Oscar? What's up? Are you sick or do you...
Bad choices of hot pot and fried chicken.
Well, that's what made you sick.
Wow.
True. Like the only problem with me is just my throat. I don't have a cold, I don't have flu. It's annoying.
Student media shares report.
So the Student Media Committee had their second meeting for the year, just to touch base at the end of the semester with the OND Magazine and OND Radio editors. OND Magazine is ticking along nicely in terms of their editions. The only thing worth noting is that they're going to switch the order and put LD at the start of semester 2 to sort of maximise readership, because that's going to be one of their bigger publications of the year. That all sounded good, and we clarified a question when Oscar needs to submit his report as AUU president. On the radio, similarly, reported that they're making good progress in setting everything up. Nick raised an issue regarding the room that they're in for sort of hosting the radio, and I offered to support in any capacity I can with the university. And of interest to Felix, we have nailed in 2 more meeting dates for the remainder of the year, so we are on track to hit our quota of 4. Nothing else of note to really report coming out of that meeting.
Wonderful. Any questions for Oliver?
Do you have any like quantifiable way of measuring readership?
So I requested that those metrics be provided in terms of the online readership, in terms of engagement. They were certainly receptive to providing that. I'll be sure to follow that up at the start of the 3rd meeting. Anecdotally, though, they reported that the printing of the boxes has all been distributed, and that the wastage that has been commonplace in other years, by the sounds of things, has not been occurring this year. So it sounds like sort of readership is decent, but obviously note that we don't have sort of any electronic data as yet.
Anything?
Sorry, quick question. Just who asked that question? Just to my report.
Luke did.
Thank you.
Anything further? There being none, we move on to Anna's non-existent report and skim past it to Adelaide University's Regiment Cooperation Collaboration.
So noting that I have a conflict, I'm just requesting that I propose the idea and then leave the room for the following discussion, noting that that's sort of practice that we've done previously.
Yeah.
That's all good with the chair?
Yeah.
So essentially the genesis of this is that, as you may know, I'm a reservist with Adelaide University's regiment, so I'm going through training there currently. As part of that, they do recruiting activities, to ensure that there's a pipeline of officers and ordinary ranks coming through the unit and into the wider ADF. They have recruiting relationships with Flinders University, and once I sort of became aware that that was the case, and that there were, officer cadets within the unit assisting that, I wondered why that sort of relationship doesn't exist at Adelaide University, and indeed I clarified, whether we did have some sort of relationship that I was unaware of. It turns out that, there wasn't a relationship. I think it would be good to establish one. One, because I found the experience during my university years to be beneficial in terms of leadership and other skills sort of directly received throughout the training process. There's a financial benefit as well, but also I think, the ADF more broadly provides, critical function to the nation. If you look at particularly the reserve response to the floods in New South Wales and other areas. So I think that having them directly on campus, conducting recruiting activities, is a beneficial thing to do. And currently that relationship is sort of being established, but I think it would be good for the board to endorse that collaboration to really ensure that it gets over the line. That's everything from me.
What sort of collaboration would you be proposing, and how could we, what are some actual sort of steps that you'd like to see happen?
So I suggested that they have a stall at, for example, Clubs Land in O Week at the start of the year. Obviously that one has been missed, but the equivalent event at the start of semester 2 I thought would be a good one to attend. because it's very low drag for them to assist and come out with some stuff and hand out some flyers about what the process is like. So that's essentially the scale of the collaboration. It's not.
They used to have a store though, we're going back up in over 10.
Yeah, well,
years ago.
historically, the namesake of the unit is the Adelaide University's regiment. So there actually used to be a regiment, or correction, there used to be some sort of unit on campus about 100 years ago, and it's sort of grown out of that. So, yeah.
And just to clarify, the regiment's to do with the Defence Force? Is that what you're
Correct,
saying? Okay.
I don't know if I should answer any of your questions, but I think I should.
No, you can answer questions.
Yeah,
Just
right,
go
yeah,
for
yeah.
discussion after or the vote. But any other questions?
Do you say it would be of financial benefit?
Well, yeah, I mean, you get paid to be a reservist.
Oh, yes.
So,
yeah,
I
sure.
mean,
But not specifically to the union.
no.
Yeah.
Yes, a couple of questions. First off, it's sort of mentioned, it was hinted at by Luke, but what exactly is our endorsement going to help them achieve? Like, I know you said like push them over the line. In what way is it going to push them
So
over
the
line?
unit is keen to see the collaboration established, but I think there are anecdotally some staff who are a bit confused as to why.
Union staff or university staff?
I don't know exactly which, but staff in general that they're dealing with, just to sort of get us over the line and show that the board supports establishing this relationship, I think would go a ways to just making that sort of easy for them, essentially.
I'm not opposed in theory to them having a stall at OWIC or like the club's land equivalent, but would that come at the expense of a club or would that come at the expense of a corporate sponsor or something?
I think stalls at OWIC get purchased by clubs. So
These guys will be a corporate sponsor.
Yeah,
We
it's
sack them
different.
dry for as much as we could.
So they won't, so no,
Gary.
Clubs land and corporate stores separated.
okay, so that's what I'm just confirming. So if we were to support, so if we were to support this, we're not kicking, we're
No,
not
no,
evicting
no.
a club from a space,
No.
we're denying a club space.
Clubs land has a fixed space.
Okay, right.
Anything further? Cool. Then, Oliver, you can leave the room.
So essentially, before you leave, all you're asking for is a face at the club's land.
You were about to say. So this is discussion time?
Alrighty. Any further comments or discussion?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, me too. So, any opposed?
I'm not a big fan. I'm just trying to articulate my words why, but not feeling it. That sounds really strange, but yeah, I don't know. There's something a bit shady about it that I don't like. But
About the Australian Defence Force.
no, just about like the actual premise of it. Like, what are we going to do? What do we get out of it? Kind of thing. Like in the grand scheme of things,
Defence.
are they going to defend the uni from attacks? Like what?
Well, I suppose if
Yeah,
it came
like-
to that, yes, they would, but yeah.
Without, can I partake in discussion?
You can pass the chair to me and then
I pass the chair to Oscar at
5.
5:50.
So chair is passed to me at 5:15 p.m.
I think that the clear benefit is that one, it provides the ADF a space to recruit for the Army Reserves, which, as Oliver said, provides leadership opportunities. It is something which can help university students with pay. It provides discipline. It provides all kinds of personality aiding that a lot of young people need. I think that the ADF is an incredibly respectable organisation. I think that there is nothing controversial about the AUU supporting the military that defends our country. And I think that more Australians should be involved in the military. And I think that this is a fantastic recommendation. And I certainly would urge everyone here to vote for it. I give you the chair back.
Do you want to sort of respond to that point or?
I politely disagree. But that's all I got to say to that. Thanks for your spiel.
I pass the chair. Do you want to debate?
Oh, no, not that. I just have a general questions and.
I will pass the chair back to Isaac at 5:51 p.m.
Accepted. And yes,
So what we're doing here is endorsing a collaboration with zero specifics is the specifics based on the fact that we've said that they'll get a club O week, or are we just in general endorsing a collaboration? And then whoever's out there organising the events does the collaboration with the ADF.
I suppose what Oliver's trying to achieve is sort of like a top-down approach.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what we're doing here is endorsing a collaboration.
Yep.
With zero specifics. So we're essentially giving the power to whoever's next down the line to do whatever they agree, whatever they see fit.
If it comes,
Oh, no, have you finished, Grace?
Yeah, that's my
No,
question.
just so for a little bit of context, Oliver approached me and my team first, as any potential sponsor would, and not Felix's favourite, the adult toy megastore. Typically, we would have just dealt with this group as like we would for our volunteers day as well, and said, these are our requirements, what do you want to contribute? And we understand that you're just one of the many people who want to have a presence at Video Week. I also suggested that it's probably worth having a board conversation, which is why we're having it now. But hey, compare the ADF with an adult toy megastore. Because for us, I mean, that's the conversation for you guys is, are you, as I say, we're just extending something that's actually an executive decision really of me and my team, and I thought it was worthwhile you guys, because we didn't want to offend anyone by, if there was, the board was actually unilaterally opposed to it, then we would just say no.
Okay. So pretty much the only reason we're having this conversation is because Oliver approached you about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Felix.
On a side point for the record and those tuning in, when Gary's talking about my appreciation, that was a sarcastic reference to the fact that I was not sold on that. And technically, that was an in-camera matter. So, yes. So, no, I do not necessarily endorse that. That's
My deepest apologies.
Is there any further discussion? Then we will move the recommendation that the board endorses the collaboration with the Adelaide University's Regiment Corporation. And can we take Oliver as having moved it, if he submitted it?
Best not, because there's a conflict.
Okay. Okay. Well, can I have a move it in?
no.
I'll move it. Luke, seconder. Oscar, are there any opposed? Rebecca, then all those in favour? All those against? Those abstaining? That is carried.
It'd almost be nice to see like a greater deal of collaboration between the defence force and you, if it was possible. But,
I think it's probably better that they have a greater level of collaboration with the university rather than the union.
True.
It's a limit on what the union can do.
Oliver, just for your information, the motion passed. Any other business? No. Alrighty. Then we will move in camera at 5:55 p.m.